YouTube friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share with you a curriculum that I'm using in my homeschool, and that is Myself and Others, a simply classical resource from Memoria Press. I first learned about this from another homeschool mama here on YouTube, and her channel name is YMO Homeschool. She did an unboxing type of video, and when I saw this curriculum, it looked really good, like something I needed to have to help my kiddos. And so I believe that when I was on Memoria Press's website, because I did purchase some things for them for next year, I didn't even know this existed. So I was intrigued and excited to see this. And when I went on their website and researched a little bit more, I knew this would be a good fit for my kiddos. Also, at this time of the year where we have this need for structure, where everything else is coming to an end in our maths and our sciences and things, I needed something to kind of fill in this space, and I thought it would be a good time to start this. So what this is, like I said, a social type of program for social understanding, for learning about habits and self-awareness and safety, all those things that all kids, typical or non-typical kids, need to learn about. And if they already know a lot of these things and have these skills, it's just good to reinforce them, just to remind kids in a gentle way about manners and just social behaviors that are acceptable and not acceptable. So anyway, so I went ahead and purchased this curriculum. So what you can do is you can just purchase a book one here. It has all the lesson plans that you're going to need to teach the children all the skills they're going to go through and learn about in the book. But you're going to need to either purchase the read alouds and or borrow them somehow, because they're integral. You're going to need them in order to do the program fully the way that it's laid out. So you can purchase this on its own, and that is about $20. You can purchase it from Memoria Press, you can purchase it from Rainbow Resource, or you can get it at christianbook.com. I saw it on both of those places. I ended up placing an order through Memoria Press for this and for the core. So the core consists of this book and 4 of the core books, and I'll show you those. So these are the core books. So this and these books cost around $53 if you purchase it through Memoria Press. I utilize their free shipping, and so I got this bundle through them. So this is Polite Elephant, Know and Follow Rules, Listen and Learn, and F is for Feelings. Okay, so these are books that I imagine you're going to read often. They are not integrated into the daily lesson plans. From what I've seen so far, and I've been pretty thorough reading through this, I haven't seen them integrated into the lessons. But it looks like books that you're going to kind of use often throughout the course. Okay, so I think that's why they sold it as a core. Then you're going to need the read alouds. The read alouds are very integral because every week you're reading a read aloud. Every day, actually, for 14 weeks you're reading a read aloud. So let me just show you the read alouds book list real quick. We'll go back in. So here's the core, and I just showed you all those books. And here are the read alouds, okay? These are all the books in the read aloud. And if you look at a lesson, so week 1, day 1, you're reading one of those read alouds, Abe Lincoln. And as you go on, you're always reading one of those read alouds. So every day for the 14 weeks. Okay, so I haven't seen any of the core books mentioned, but I think because they're books about manners and feelings and listening skills and things like that, they're just books that you read all the time throughout the course without it being mentioned in the lesson plans. So just to give you an idea, because I was a little bit confused about that at first. All right, so let me show you the read alouds. You may want to, whoops, sorry, I bumped the camera. You may want to either borrow these from your library, or you can purchase them. Memoria Press does sell a read-along package where you can get all these read-aloud books. And I believe I saw them on their website for about $95, which is really expensive. And so I ended up purchasing mine through Rainbow Resource. They have a bundle. You just type in myself and others, read alouds, and they have a package set up. And I believe I paid under $64 for it with free shipping. Okay, so that's a big savings to me. If your intent is to purchase the books, that's the way to go. All right, so the first book is Winnie the Pooh. It's a hardcover. It's beautifully illustrated. And this is one of the books you're going to use for, I think, 4 of the 10 weeks or 5 of the 10 weeks. It's a big chapter book here. You may already have this. Again, you can check your library. By no means do you need to purchase these books in order to do the program. You can borrow them, or maybe you already have them. This isn't in any particular order, so I'm sorry about that. I should have put them in order, but I'll tell you the order when we look into the teacher plans. One Morning in Maine. You're going to need The Little Red Hen. So I purchased this as a read-along book and CD set. It actually came with this book. It's just the book. If you get that read aloud. Sorry, I keep saying read along. If you get the read aloud package, it's going to come with a regular book. I got the book in CD because my kids really love books on CD. And anytime I can find them, I buy them. So this is a few dollars more, but for this age group, books on CD are really great because the person reading the book usually uses different voices for the characters. There's a lot of background music. There's a lot of different sound effects, and they really like that. And so that's why I got this book on CD. The next book you're going to need is Abe Lincoln, Ms. Rumphius, Cinderella, The Gardener, Riki Tiki Tavi, The Monkey and the Crocodile, and The Ugly Duckling. And this is a hardback book. So all classical, lots of Caldecott honor books for your read-alouds. All right. So now I'm going to just kind of go over what's in the inside of this this teacher's book. All right, here you have the table of contents. It's going to tell you all that's included, the book list, introduction. There's a readiness assessment if you want to make sure that your children are ready for this level. You can also have that online, so you don't feel like you have to buy it in order to figure that out. They have, and on their website, you can look and find out whether or not your children are ready for this level. So social skills and how to improve them, there's a section that for parents or teachers to read about that. The read aloud list and the guidelines that you're going to need to read for teaching the program. So here are the lessons all laid out. There's 14 weeks, and each week you're going to learn about one of these things. So you're going to learn about honesty and integrity, work and cooperation, beauty and service, courage and devotion, thoughtfulness, wisdom and discernment, family and neighbors, kindness and goodness, playmates, teamwork, friendship, moments to be helpful, love, self-knowledge, truth, and hope. In the appendix here, you're going to see that you need these visual cues. They're visual cue cards. You're going to have to either make a copy or tear it out. 5 steps to good hand washing, and then the supplemental reading list. There's just so many books in this program, but you can, of course, use the supplemental reading list if you wanted to. So here's the book list that we looked at earlier, the core books, and then the read-alouds. Here's an introduction, and it just talks about, again, these are the cues: rules, health, safety, manners, and listening, and then what you're going to learn through those basic social skills. Health is going to be essentials for physical and mental health. Safety is cautions and habits for staying safe. manners, instructions, and practice with good manners. And then listening, you're going to be reading different stories about morals and character traits, virtues, things like that. And those are all the read alouds. Okay. That's the assessment that I was talking to you about. So this is just some tips that you should read through just for social skills and social understanding, some things that you can do, some games you can play, different things to think about, how to engage your students and how to play emotional games, how to play role-playing games, I mean. Here are the read alouds again. So as you can see here, you have Winnie the Pooh for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for 5 weeks, you're going to be reading out of that Winnie the Pooh book. Okay, so here is something that's important to know, and that is the preparation and the teaching specifics for the cue cards, and then what to say about those cue cards. So this is the cue cards section in the back. I wish this was cardstock, this page, both these pages, and I wish that the pages were perforated because it's really integral part of the program, these visual cue cards, and it's very thin paper, and you can see the appendix right through to the other side, and it's a little bit distracting. Also, if it was like perforated and on cardstock, it would just last longer. It does say to laminate them, which I have done. I didn't pull them out because it's bound in a way that it would be pretty impossible to take it out without tearing. You could also just use the scissors. But I did just make a copy and laminate it, and we colored them. But you can see that you can just see that the words bleed through, the appendix bleeds through to the other side. So that's one thing I would change, just making this resource that's so integral a little bit more, a little nicer for the parent or the teacher to use. So here you have the 5 steps to good hand washing as well. You can make a copy or pull it out. You're going to run into the same thing with the words bleeding through to the other side if you make a copy. Okay, so let's go to the first. Actually, let me just show you the cue cards. All right, so you have these cue cards and you're going to use them every day that you do these lessons. So you have rules with a stop sign, safety. Actually, it goes rules, health, then it does safety, then you do manners and listening. Okay, that's the order every week that they're going to be in, which is important, especially for kids with autism, where they need things to be predictable and in order on occasion, sometimes on more than one occasion for my kids. But so these are the way you're going to show them to the kids every time. So for rules, you're going to show this to your child. I'll just kind of go over how I do it, and then of course you can just change it however way you like. It just is easier to talk about when I can explain it the way I've explained it to my kids. So I show them this card and I say, what does it say? What do you think this means? So if they can read, they'll say rules, and it says stop, that's a stop sign. And they'll say, I'll say, what do you do at a stop sign? And they'll say stop, you have to stop. And they kind of just talk about a little bit what they think it means that you're stopping and it says rules. So it's a rule that you have to stop. And then we talk about, well, why do we want to stop? What rule for us means that we're going to stop? So we talked about what it says here. So it tells you what to say, so you don't have to think about what to say. But it says stop to think about the rules. So stop to think about the rule we already have established, or rule that you already know. So stop before you act or speak. Okay, so you can stop quickly and think about a rule that you already know. You can stop and use the rule. Okay, so by stopping, you're going to think before you act or speak. So it's kind of saying the same thing in a lot of different ways to kind of make them understand what this is going to mean every time we're talking about something. So that's stop. And then we go into health. The same sort of thing. They see a picture of a girl. She's making, she's showing her muscles. What does this mean? Being healthy. What are ways you can be healthy? The way you eat. You can be healthy. Good hygiene. Brushing your teeth. They said things like brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, putting on clean clothes, eating vegetables, all sorts of things. So they come up with their own ideas, and then you can also just read from the script here for health, okay? And it just talks about being healthy as a habit. So now you're talking about habits. Well, what's a habit? If they don't already know what that means, you can just tell them that a habit's something that you do over and over again. And if it's a healthy habit, it's something healthy that you're doing every time, like brushing your teeth, etc. So next is going to be safety. So you're going to talk about the cue card here. So this is all before, I did this all before I introduced the lesson. This is just so they understand what these are. So I know what to say, and I'm saying it to them so that when we start the lesson, they already have an idea of what is coming next. So for safety, they can say what they see. A girl in a seat with her seatbelt on, and they can talk about this for a little bit. And you can talk about what it means to be safe and how you can be safe. Yes, you can be safe when you buckle up in your car, and you can be safe in other things that you do. So we talked about other ways they can be safe, like wearing a helmet when they ride their bike, or wearing knee pads when they roller skate or something like that, or being safe on the playground and, using the play equipment properly, things like that. So for manners, you show them this as well, and they're going to talk about good manners. So they're probably going to know some manners like saying please and thank you, and they'll probably already know these things because, as we all know, we teach our children these things from a very young age. But they still need to continue to practice these things in the real world. And so this is a good reminder for that. So another way to look at manners is also to think about our behavior around other people. So if someone is speaking to us, we should look at them. Our body should be facing towards them. We should be listening in different ways. It's all showing good manners. So we just talk about a little bit about all the things that they understand and know about manners. And again, it tells you some things that you can talk about. There's also a cue that they have for this, like you can show folding your hands in your lap. We don't need to use that for our kids because they're all very verbal, but for children with different special needs, you might need like a cue, like an action that you do as you show the card. So that also tells you what to do in this. And I kind of skipped over that because we didn't use it, but there's an action that goes with each of these cue cards as well. So for listening, there's the ear. So for the listening part of the lesson, you're going to be reading a book. But it also tells you about a cue that you can use for listening, which is cupping your hand over your ear. And we talked about what listening means. We talked about that you listen with your ears, but what's another way that you can listen? And this kind of integrates a little bit of the manners where you're listening with your eyes in some way, right? Because you're looking at someone and it's showing them that you're listening. Or if you're turning towards them, you're showing them that you're listening. If you're looking at them, you're showing them that you're listening. So these are all things very important for kids to understand. So this walks you through different things. So we listen with our ears. As we hear, we listen with our eyes. So keep your eyes on me or on the page of the book. We listen with our bodies, so keep your body still. So it gives you some more script to read there. So those are all the cues. And then there's some suggestions here. It should take no more than 30 to 90 minutes, which is a really long time. I'd say we're on the lower end of 30 minutes for a lesson. So here is how it's laid out. It's for 4 days. It's Monday through Thursday. Thursday, you're practicing some things about what you've learned throughout the week. So let's just go over week 1, day 1. So rules, you're going to bring out your rule card and you just briefly talk about what it says here. Be honest, introduce telling the truth. So tell the truth, and it means we say what is true. A lie is telling what is false, not true. Lying is wrong, telling the truth is right. Okay? So for kids who are very black and white also in their thinking, they need to understand things very specifically. It needs to be concrete. So telling a child that telling the truth is right, especially a child with special needs, is important to solidify what you're trying to say. So there can't be too much gray area when you're speaking because then they're not understanding. So then you have here health. So good books are good for our minds. Good books help us think well. So we talked about what that means, and we did talk about what the Bible says about what we should look upon, because our eyes are the windows to our soul. So we do talk about things like that. And so you might choose to address these things differently. But the way I approached it with good books are good for your mind, because books are great. Books are wonderful. We need books to learn, and books are wonderful for inspiring our imagination. But my daughter, I think we talked about a book that she said something about a book, and if you open a book and it has all these bad things to do, like not be nice to your neighbor and to say something mean, do you continue to read that book? No. So in that instance, that book wouldn't be good for you. So not all books are good for you, right? Not everything that you see and everything that you read is something that is good for your mind. So we just kind of went in a whole different direction, but you can choose to use it however you want, or take that however you want, or skip it if you don't feel like it's something you want to teach your child. So for manners, it has here, it's good manners to take care of our own property and the property of others. So we talked about different scenarios. And so what this does, it doesn't have to take a long time. It can be short. If your kids don't have anything to add to the conversation, don't force it. Don't feel like you have to have them say something for everything. But usually they volunteer their thoughts and opinions. So for example, for manners, they were talking about how if a friend let them borrow a toy and they played with it outside and they forgot it outside and it rained and it got mud all over it and it was just ruined, that wouldn't be having good manners, because that wouldn't be taking good care of their property. The same for their own toys. If they don't take care of their toys and they get ruined, that's not showing respect for their things. So we just talked about different scenarios, and usually children will volunteer their opinions about stuff like this all the time, and they're really solidifying and getting the gist of what you're trying to teach them without actually having to constantly, give them the words for them. So that's really nice. Okay, so the listening cue is for the book. So we're going to listen to a book. And it says here, we can know what is right and what is wrong. We can be honest and tell the truth. And we can read a story today about a boy who was known to be honest. So we read the book, Abe Lincoln. So we read this book. It was a really good book. The Boy Who Loved Books. So that is it. That is day 1, Monday. And you're done. And then the next day, you're going to show the same cue cards. And then you're going to read the book again. You're going to read Abe Lincoln again and again. So for 4 days, you're reading the book, the same book. So sort of along that lines of 5 in a row, where you're rowing a book for a certain amount of days. It's what you're doing with these books as well. So on the 4th day here, what you're going to do is just kind of role play. You're going to role play, and you're just going to kind of talk about what you learned and put it into practice. So it goes on and on like that for 14 weeks. So the last week here, let's see if I can show you. Sorry, this video is so long. So the last book we're going to read is The Ugly Duckling. And again, it's just laid out the same way throughout, going over safety and health, different types of manners, different virtues like love and respect. Yeah. So that's the program, you guys. That's how it's laid out, and so far we're really loving it. I will again do a video once we wrap up the program and just give you my thoughts on how it was overall. But so far we really like it. It's a really nice program, and it's really filling in this need that we have right now in our homeschool, where things are wrapping up and coming to an end, and we have a need for something. And I didn't want to start like a new curriculum, but this was a good time to kind of work on manners and work on self-control and habits. So if you're looking for something like this is a great program. As far as I can tell right now, everything's working out really well. This is not a sponsored video. I bought all these things with my own money. I do have a child with autism, and I have 2 typical developing and learning children as well. And so this works for all 3 of them. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them down below, and I hope to talk to you in the next video.